We welcome back to the show staff writer at The Hill, Sterling Beard. Welcome back, Sterling. How you been?
I've been all right. How are y'all down in Texas?
Great, pal. Almost 850 pages in that immigration bill, and some news in the past couple of days that the senators that drew this up, they have some special projects in there. Chuck Schumer pushing for special treatment for some Irish workers. Lindsey Graham wanting some visas for the meat industry. We've seen lawmakers do this before, and I'm guessing it's never going to change in Washington. Why point this out? I'm just curious. Why point this out? Do you think these guys are going to be embarrassed? They have no shame.
This is really sort of classic American politics right here, actually. Of course, before the great anti-pork crusade got started a few years ago, this sort of horse trading in bills was common. So what we're seeing is the sort of back-scratching and quid pro quo work that actually allowed the bill to even come out of the Gang of Eight, the sort of compromises that were made to even get an immigration reform bill at all. So what we're seeing here is really just sort of classic American politics. Whether or not that greatly affects it down the road in the Senate in general is debatable, but it's unlikely to see a huge amount of backlash.
Yeah, the anti-pork leader at one time was John McCain. Just curious, he's part of this so-called gang of eight. Did he put anything special in that legislation? Has anybody found anything for John McCain?
It's 844 pages long.
They're still looking.
There may be things that we're of course, people are always poring over this thing, trying to find everything possible right now. But of course, the main sort of pork that has been found thus far is, of course, as you mentioned, Senator Lindsey Graham has gotten 20,000 additional visas set aside for the meat industry in his state for meat cutters and trimmers. Senator Charles Schumer has got special treatment for Irish workers with an additional 10,500 visas set aside for Irish workers with at least a high school education. And, of course, Senator Rubio's got help for the cruise line industry, and Senator Bennett is a boost for ski areas. So this, like I said, this is classic.
Yeah.
This is going back to their own constituencies, sort of bringing home the bacons a little bit. But at least these are related to immigration. They aren't just completely out of the blue.
Because these are jobs that are going to be linked somehow to an influx of immigrants or naturalizing or legalizing the folks who are here illegally, that they come out of the shadows and start working in some of these gigs.
Exactly.
It's important for the electorate to know this at the very least, at least to get the information out there. Not that it's going to change, because you mentioned this culture that seemed to be pretty popular a couple of years back, where the call for no pork, no add-ons to legislation, that pretty much has disappeared.
Well, in some respects, because it's been largely successful, the House Republicans have more or less put a moratorium on any of their own from adding sort of pork to bills. But with the Senate, that sort of crusade never really took off as hard, especially since the Senate does not have as much Tea Party influence. So, if this does make it to the House, expect a lot of these sort of pork set-asides to perhaps face a lot of criticism from House Republicans.
Sterling Beard, staff writer at The Hill, our guest on 710 KURV.
Yes, Sterling, Tim Sullivan here. Is it possible that any of these pet projects are actually good for immigration reform, or are they more like, pork in a budget bill?
Arguably, these sorts of immigration reforms are at least going to sort of hash out a lot of without these sort of set-asides, the bill itself probably would not exist. So as far as one could make the argument that these are necessary, perhaps set-asides that to get the bill going at all, and therefore immigration reform is, assuming, of course, that immigration reform is in and of itself a good thing. But there are very few sorts of things that we've seen thus far that would allow for, say, high technology or college-educated immigrants specifically. Mm-hmm. What we're seeing is mainly sort of low education, low-wage worker stuff.
So when it does get to the House, what happens there? Do you think these pet projects will be cut out, or might some of these representatives try to add their own pet projects?
It's entirely possible. Remember, before it even gets to the House, it's got to get through the Senate, and there are 92 other senators who have yet to really have a chance to add their own amendments to us.
Yeesh.
So the bill is 844 pages right now, but it's likely that number is going to go up rather than down.
I give up. Seriously. I just want to kick something right now. I give up. There is no changing the ways in Washington, and it's just a load of crap. That's all it is. All right, thank you, Sterling. Staff writer at the Hill, Sterling Beard, on 710 KURV.